States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming and standing out in the cold waiting for us to finish up with other business. Thank you. We're going to put off the consent agenda for right now. We'll do it at the end, if that's okay?
Yep.
Okay. Next upcoming select board meeting, Thursday, April 21st, 5:30, here at the fire hall. Any select board comments, announcements?
So, I don't think we chatted since this happened, but the Xfinity has approved installing high-speed internet on the roads that were left off of our franchise agreement, which is Birch Point and Mountain Road, all the way to the end for free. We are in the midst of waiting on the poll agreements, but it will be gratis for the town. So, it's good news.
Very good news. Thank you. Anything, Madeline?
I have nothing. Thank you. Except to say that I'm wearing this mask for your protection. I have a cold and I don't want to be sneezing and snuffling on you.
I'll turn it over to Christine to introduce Alice.
Okay. Allison, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Allison Hepler. I currently am the state representative for the towns of Arousing, Georgetown, Phippsburg, Woolwich, which is where I live, resident part of Richmond. As a result of redistricting, I am now running to represent Arousing, Georgetown, Phippsburg, Woolwich, and West Bath. So I'm just here to just sort of say hello, introduce myself. I sort of feel like my home is the select board. I'm at the 11th year of my Woolwich Select Board, and actually I kind of say, and he knows this, that my very first introduction to the select board was being put on a committee to figure out the RSU funding formula, which, and I learned a lot from David, and I'm still at it, and I find it really, I serve on the Marine Resources Committee in the legislature, which I really like, and Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, which I also really like, although I don't know as much about that area. So, anyway, I'll be out knocking on doors in your neighborhood if there's anything you think I should know, or just feel free to reach out.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to have Mr. Brackley introduce himself, Kathy?
Yes, that was
here.
great.
Hi, please welcome Matthew Brackley. He's also a resident of West Bath, and Matt is running for the Maine State Senate District 24 seat, which encompasses all of Saginaw County and also Dresden. Matt?
Thanks. I don't need to say much more, which is good because I don't feel at home in a select meeting, however. Yeah, right. So I am Matt Brackley. I live in West Bath, out behind the courthouse, off Sanford Crossing Road. And I also own Brackley Electric over off Foster's Point Road. This is my first time entering the world of politics. I'm primarily a business person, a tradesperson, but I appreciate the opportunity to introduce myself. Mostly just wanted to put a face with a name, and thank you.
Thank you.
As the town clerk, I'd like to invite both of you, if you want to submit profiles for our website for the upcoming election. A lot of residents ask for information on the candidates, so I'll put that offer out there if that's acceptable to the selection.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So we have a very, very busy agenda tonight, so we will dig right in here. Business item 2, Marine Resources and Waterway and Harbor Ordinance discussion. a relined version of the Waterways and Harbor Ordinance amended as of June 17, 2015 is provided for review. This is the first draft that will lead to proposed ordinance revisions. This draft is an initial step to clarify language and remove unnecessary provisions. Do you want to say any more on this?
Well, what we're looking for tonight is just some initial direction from the board. If you've reviewed the Waterways and Harbors Ordinance in particular, you'll see that it's very redlined. There was a lot contained in that ordinance that was either redundant or unnecessary, or not appropriate to be included in an ordinance. So what we're looking at when we put something before the town, we're not looking at an amended ordinance, we're looking at a complete revision. What I would like to do with the Waterways and Harbors Ordinance is include language for how our boat facilities are, the rules to use our boat facilities. We have two separate ordinances right now. We have one for New Meadows Lake and we have one for Sabino Landing. But we don't have anything for Bull Rock. And we have had some issues there recently. And we also don't have anything for Mountain Road. So if we could include language within the ordinance that covers all of that, I think that would be ideal. And I just wanted to run it past the board first to see
Well, I think there
if you
needs to
felt
be
that
a
was appropriate.
standard, because there's people that are storing stuff at Bull Rock,
Right.
or parking issues. I think that creating a set guideline that's enforceable
Mhm.
is important.
Yeah, and if it's consolidated and people can look in one place, I think that would be very helpful.
We've got Allison here. What do you, have you read it? You seem to be fluent in this.
We actually, in Woolwich, I'm gonna speak with my select board hat on, but, we don't even have a boat launch. Well, we have one, but it's being closed because of the construction on Route 1. Is this just to consolidate everything into one?
Yes, and it's really a complete revamping of the ordinance because it's not very enforceable in its current state.
Is this like who can use it and?
And how they use it.
How they use it and what the harbor master is responsible for, that sort of thing.
Well, if there's anything in state statute that I can help with that, I'd be happy to look at it, so. You know how to reach me?
Yes, we do.
And are we putting in, including how we're looking at adding the online mooring registration and how it's located and moved and all of that?
Yeah, we can add some kind of language with that. I don't want to make it too specific.
Or just we had that issue with moving?
Right,
A mooring, so I think that
Right.
needs to be in there.
yes,
But
that's a
you're
good
adding the
observation.
application, so
Right,
the application will be available for the registration for a loan.
right.
Oh, gee, yeah, that's really exciting to have that piece and complete.
Are there any other observations about that particular ordinance?
Can we table this and review it and bring this up at the next selectmen's meeting?
Probably not the next selectmen's meeting because you already have a full agenda.
Okay, I just.
But in May we can.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion that we table this for the May selectmen's meeting.
Let me ask one question. If we put it off till May, is it gonna
Just for
interfere?
procedure, we should make a motion, second that motion, then discuss.
And I was gonna second that.
Thank you.
I'd like to offer discussion. Will this time frame, because of our town meeting, exclude this from the inclusion of the ordinance?
It probably would if we wait, but that's why I put the November date. I think it might make sense for the town so that we have time to really review everything and send it to Sally, that we take up all of our ordinance changes at the November
So I just wanna make sure if we're not looking to get this into that.
No,
then the
no, I
timeframe-
think that would be a mistake to
There's,
have it move that quickly,
there's no need to hurry.
yeah.
Okay, all in favor of tabling this?
And on the marine resource conservation ordinance, I haven't marked this one up yet, but we are looking at a revision on this as well. There are a number of items that are not addressed within the ordinance that are creating confusion. For example, there's nothing to indicate what qualifies for conservation time or
How it's recorded.
or receiving time, or how it's documented. Madeline and Carly also attended the last Marine Resources meeting. They might have something to add.
I was delighted with the full participation of the members who really were concerned about having things straightforward, easy to understand, as well as clarification on some of the difficulties for enforcement. It was a kind of wild and wonderful meeting.
It was, there was a lot of good.
We're very
A lot of
well
good-
attended.
A lot of good input.
So I presume we're extending that as well.
Right. And I just want to mention that Doug has given his notice, and he will be done at the end of the fiscal year here in West Bath. He will continue on for another year in Vicksburg. But we will be looking for a new shellfish warden.
Actually, Woolwich is too. So I was just talking earlier about maybe talking.
Collaborative.
Yeah.
I know that our Marine Resources Board has some ideas about how we'll fill that gap, but
That would
they
be
have.
great, because all our ideas have not panned
Yeah,
out,
it's
so.
become very difficult to find appropriate enforcement.
Can your people talk to their people?
We both have people who talk.
Yeah.
Did you have something you'd like to add to the conversation?
Yeah, I was just kind of trying to figure out, I was looking for some answers, I guess, on kind of why I didn't get my claimant license this year. Because I did all my time. When I had set dates to do it, I did it. And someone else didn't have their time in all year long. And then they just wrote it in at the end of the year, and that just doesn't seem right with me.
This goes back to the documentation and having an ordinance that's silent on that.
And we are out of licenses.
Yes, yeah, I guess so, I don't know, I mean, that's what they said, right?
That's correct, right?
Right now, the only way a license would have become available is if one of the current license holders didn't put in their conservation time or didn't apply for it. Everyone applied for it, and according to the Marine Resources Chair Warren, everyone has their time in.
Does he not have his permit?
He does, but he's not a current license holder.
That has happened to other people in the past.
Yeah.
Okay, why?
Because we are limited as to the number of licenses that we can issue.
Oh, no, I understand that. I'm more talking about the time issue.
No, the time, if there is not an available license, it has not been unusual for somebody to have to wait a number of years.
Well, no, it's, but if you don't do your time correctly through the year, you shouldn't get one, correct?
There is no evidence that nobody did that, and the
Yeah, that's the issue right now, is we don't have anything in writing to define
Okay.
whether or not somebody has done
Okay.
the appropriate time.
And how it's
Gotcha.
recorded, which is why
Yeah.
we're.
Okay.
My name is Hannah Barrington, I'm Alan's wife. I think that some of the confusion and pain point for our family is that Nick was given these notices of when he was able to do his conservation hours, and he took his time off of work to attend those conservation hours in hopes that he could secure this license so that if anything were to happen at the shipyard, he could still provide for our family. Should anything happen like that, it happens very frequently, they go on strike. So it just seemed that he felt a requirement to have to attend these certain periods of time where other members just did it whenever they wanted to. Which, if that was available for everyone on the board, he would have done it on the weekend, not miss time with our infant son, and it just felt like a waste of time for his year. He was on track to have all of the hours in, and it looked like he was gonna get it right up until the week before when someone penciled in all their hours for the entire year. So even if there was an indication that the license wouldn't be available, he would have said, okay, I'll wait until next year and not waste all of this time. And it was looking up until the week before that he was ready to go until he walked up to the town hall and saw that a current license holder did complete their time off when nobody of the other license holders completed their time. They did it on their own time. And apparently there's no rule that you can't do it on your own time. So I guess either clarification or clarification on what activities he can do on his own time on Saturdays to do his own conservation hours so that he doesn't have to take time off of work to do it.
That's good
That's the
information
concern.
to have, thank you.
Yeah, that's the whole story, and where the pain point is coming from and the frustration.
So who is the governing body that verifies these people do this time? Somebody has to sign off
The
on it.
Marine Resources Board.
And he verifies every hour everybody turns in? I mean, that's his job,
You would know
correct?
better than I would how that works.
I would say they sign off on it, I wouldn't say they verify it.
Does someone need to be present at the conservation time at all? I know Warren, who's the
Yeah,
leader, is
Warren's-
always,
There used to be a sheet, there's a
There.
sheet you have to sign. Yeah.
right, I mean, it just seems like, and like you said, it needs clarification, right? It's
Yes,
not that
yeah.
I'm debating whether or not this year, it's annoying, but, going forward to solve it, does there need to be someone present, or are we going to give the residents, the leisure of completing whatever conservation they choose on their own time?
Well, and then I guess I have a question also, and I don't know if you'll know this or not, so we have more applicants than licenses. Do we do a lottery? I mean, what's the protocol?
There is a protocol if there is a license that becomes available. Right
But
now,
if we're not completing,
well, let me finish. Right now, the ordinance states that if someone loses their license, the Marine Resources Committee has the authority to remove that license by attrition. So we don't need to make another license available. However, they apply to DMR with, this is how many licenses we'd like to have. Right now, DMR is not letting them reduce the licenses, so what they have is set. So if one of those licenses were to become available, if someone didn't request a license next year or didn't get their conservation time, there'd be an additional license. That would, first, it would go to the person who had completed the most conservation time, if they had completed all of their hours. If there was a tie, then it would be a lottery, and that's detailed very well in the Marine Resources Ordinance.
so you have automatic renewal if you hold a license, if you meet
You
your
have
conservation.
to apply for it every year,
But if you apply, you automatically get it.
as
even
long
though
as
there's
you've done your
people-
conservation time.
So I know it doesn't help you now, but I know we've been talking about this and are gonna look at tightening up those rules and regulations, and hopefully it'll be very, very clear going forward.
So he raises a good point, but the ordinance right now, in theory, he could say, I did this, that, and the other thing, there's nothing that says you have to verify it. And if Warren or the complete board were to say, okay, would a policy help tighten that up? Could the board sign off on a policy, or?
I would prefer to have it in the ordinance.
Oh, absolutely, that's why
Yeah.
we're rewriting it. I'm just saying, as a patch, until we can get the new ordinance written, is there anything we can do?
I suppose we could do that if it would be helpful.
I'm not
I just-
saying we should or we shouldn't, I'm just asking if that's an option, because
I
I'm sure
I
he's
definitely think we
wondering.
need to tighten it and absolutely quantify conservation, because it should not be willy-nilly.
And there has to be some,
Attrition, natural attrition or proved natural attrition, but it's also, it seems as,
and not
Yeah,
because you're my
it's-
buddy.
right, I think we need to find a way, and maybe even instill a lottery. That you automatically just go in a lottery and it's,
That's tough, because people make a living, and if we take it away from them, then
Go
they
get
gotta
rid of
put
the
it
health
down.
insurance,
Right.
homeowners insurance.
David?
Whatever you do, short term, you may not be able to do, it's gotta be approved by DMR.
Right. Anything, any ordinance has to be approved by DNR. And I hope you don't feel as though, or I hope you can change your mind about feeling about your time was wasted. Because had there been a lottery,
Yeah,
had there been a tie, you would have had the opportunity to do that.
okay.
so if he ties in conservation to a license holder, he automatically gets consideration?
No, no, the people who currently hold the licenses can reapply as long as they have met their conservation hours. And we need to be very careful about making sure that there are times in which
Required
somebody
attendance.
doesn't have to be supervised. If somebody is eliminating a predator who is destroying the industry, that is not necessarily going to be a group project. So we have to be very careful about the ways in which we make the ordinance tighter and yet flexible enough for the actual facts of what happens on the flats to be taken into consideration. Most of us in this room do not earn our living in the mud. So we need to be very careful about how we construct laws that regulate other people's lives and livelihood.
And it needs to be clear. We need to be crystal clear about what
Absolutely.
constitutes reseeding and what constitutes conservation.
Right.
Well, and documenting it. You gotta, it's, you know, I'm not saying changing, you know, it's great that that's their career, but they need to go about it the proper way as well.
I just want to confirm, so if we want to eliminate invasive species next year for his conservation hours, are we gonna have the opportunity to do that?
If you,
If it's an ordinance.
If the ordinance doesn't change as it stands, can Alan remove invasive species from the flats for his conservation hours and pencil them in on the sheet 1 week before the licenses are
he
pulled?
needs to let people know that that would be his intention.
Okay.
He needs to let other people need to observe him doing that at some point,
So someone does need to observe.
otherwise,
So
I mean,
who signed off on the,
So when we do it, we have a sheet we have to sign.
Right.
Everybody's there, okay, you do whatever
when
your
it's a
hours.
group activity,
Okay, so
So-
everybody else isn't, they can't, they're excluded from this
so
activity?
how many pounds of ribbon worm did you pick up on the flats?
I have none,
Right,
but I did do 2 water tests and 4 meetings this year.
and good,
Okay, yeah,
but
good.
those were things that were done with other people. If you're killing ribbon worms
Gotcha,
while you're digging,
okay.
it's,
I'm listening.
chances are nobody's gonna see you. But how many did you, there's gotta be a way for you to be able to.
are you
I
asking
don't
the
really-
people who are doing the time on their own for this evidence as well?
It hasn't been done,
No, it hasn't. So can we do it next year?
not according to the,
Then why can it be done this year?
because by the time next year rolls around, we should have this.
That doesn't help us this year.
Yeah,
We can't change what happened this year. That's done. We can only work on what we can do next.
yeah, but this has been going on probably for years, right? How long has this been going on?
Well, we can't change how the current
Yeah,
ordinance reads
I
today.
understand.
So we have to follow that until we make
Okay.
edits to that, which in theory, looks like it's sometime in November,
Okay,
which will fall into really the next year, you know, from the July 1 to June 30th schedule. We appreciate your effort. I understand it's frustrating.
Yeah.
And we'll do our best to ensure it's documented and clarified properly.
One improvement that has been made is there is now a town employee attending the Marine Resources meetings to make sure that votes on license numbers are properly voted on and recorded, votes on accepting conservation time are properly recorded and voted. So you can certainly approach the Marine Resources Committee and say, this is what happened last year, this is what I would like to do this year, is this acceptable? And
We'll absolutely do
see if
that.
they can work with
Yeah,
them.
we will.
and then we can document it in the minutes, so
Right.
Okay.
that's helpful too. Good point.
Any more discussion? Okay, business item 3, Sabino Road culvert replacement request for review.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have a good night.
You too.
The road committee reviewed the project and are concerned that the road is settling. The committee members would like concrete engineering to return to the site to ensure that everything is holding up as it should be based on the design provided for the project.
I saw you were having a tailgate meeting, so,
Jeremy and I went out there today, set up a laser on the back of my truck, very quick, very simple. We found a 6-inch drop in the road, probably 50–60% down. It's probably 300 feet past the new box culvert. 6 inches seems like a lot. I mean, if Pine Tree Engineering did this design, is 6 inches of settling in 2 years acceptable? What are we gonna be in 2 more years, or 4 more years, or 8 more years? I mean, I think we need to question them on what their design was supposed to achieve. And if it didn't achieve the set goals, then, that's...
I can explain that whole situation if you'd like.
Would you please?
that's great.
Blue pits are right here. Sections of road. Now, he engineered where the culvert was going.
Right,
Okay, we had a problem with the road flooded.
right.
We got a grant for this culvert, so we wanted to get the culvert in, then we had to bring the road up to meet that. He did not engineer anything in that road bed.
Beyond
He
the
engineered where the culvert was going and what we had to bring up that road to stop it from flooding. So there's really, it was nothing to do with what Rob engineered. We had test borings 48 feet deep, that there's nothing there. And we went through this before, that we could not spend $1 million on that other section of road. We had the road was flooding every year, we had a grant come in, we had to use it, and that's what we did. Now, if we wanna, the new committee we got, wanna work on trying to get the other end of that road fixed, that's great. But as far as what Rob Crew did, the drawings are there, has nothing to do with that.
So why do you think it's happening, if you're gonna wager a
There's no
guess?
bottom out there. We all know this, there's no bottom to that road. It's gonna cost millions of dollars to get that fixed. We've known it for years. Have we known it for years, Dave?
It seems every few years. And several years ago, we had engineering estimates, I think from $1 million to $3 million.
I can tell you a big thing that will help. We post that road 26,000 pounds, and you won't have this problem. There's been more building down there in the last 2 years, with truck after truck after truck, tri-axles.
So how are you gonna get the houses built then?
Single trucks? I don't know, I get smaller trucks.
So
They do it in other towns.
my suggestion is that we look at our investment in these roads. And this road is sunk for as long as I can remember. And yes, the water is the problem. So we just experienced on our driveway, we had saturated base for our driveway. We now have quite a big sinkhole where the base of the road is underwater and gets saturated. So, yeah, I now understand that this job was only engineered to install this bigger box culvert to handle the volume of water. But my point is, we still have an issue with water.
Yeah, there seems to be more water there this year.
seems to be holding further up, which destabilizes the road bed. And I think we need to look at how we approach this. You know, I think part of this box culvert, it needs to be a water study. Where does it go? How's it going? You know, we're gonna lose this road again if it settles another 6 inches in 2 years. Now we got a foot dip. Now when the floods come in the spring, the water's still gonna be in the pavement surface. I mean, even though the box culvert's taking, what would you say, Steve, 6, 8 times more than water, it's still.
Well, we went from 5 feet, from 18 inches to 5 feet.
Yeah.
But the sides seem to be holding more water, and I don't know if it's because we just had a wet winter, we've had a crazy winter, but it seems, it's full still. And if that's undermining the road beneath it,
It's not undermining. What's happening, if that road sunk 6 inches, where'd it go? So, you're on a peat moss bed, okay? You put weight to it. It squeezes up in the ditches over here. Everything that was in that road that got pounded down, squeezed up over
but
here.
the water is still sitting there, the water's not exiting the two side gullies.
I think what people aren't hearing, I've sat in meetings, town meetings for years, and the same discussion has gone on year after year after year after year. Unless you wanna put a bridge, is what I heard 40 years ago, you're gonna keep rebuilding this road.
Okay, I guess this is my point. It's a fundamental thought process. It really, Stevie hit on it. It's weight distribution. Now that road bed's the same width. If you want to support 80,000 pounds on the same road bed on a peat bog, you're gonna sink it. So we need to have the ability to fundamentally think, we have houses going in. We want to promote more people coming in. If this road keeps sinking, we need the ability to have an engineer that says, yeah, this is what you need to do to support this weight. I'm just looking at it as an asset. You know, it's costing us a lot of money, it has. I mean, what's shimming gonna cost if we do that?
Sure, you probably get in there and get that all that up, you think probably for $15,000. But the bottom line is, put $15,000 in it now, or have the town come up with $1 million, or I bet it would be over that now, but 8 years ago it was $1 million.
You're never gonna fix it,
No,
you're not gonna fix it.
you're not gonna fix it unless,
But is it,
I hate to say it, that's one place in the town that you're gonna have to keep putting Band-Aids on.
but does it make sense to, or would it help to dig the two side gullies down so at least the water exits?
I guess if it makes everybody feel better.
No, I don't,
No.
it just seems higher this year, it's not to feel
No, I
better.
understand that, and probably we might have to go back down through there and clean the ditches out again.
That's what I'm saying, does it
Right.
make sense to clean the ditch out because it's retaining more water than it has in the past?
Right,
I don't know if it's because we've had a lot of rain, I don't know
That's
what,
gonna continue.
you know.
And I haven't been downstream either, too. All it takes is just a little bit, Perry mentioned it earlier. And then they built a dam down there. If they plug that back up, that'll keep that water table. That whole stream is about the same height, you see it on the plans, down through there, there's not much drop. So if they made a little dam, or a beaver, or a tree fell across, a bunch of stuff got in there. That's why I wanted to we put on that thing to go clean it out every spring.
Steve, you have a plan to do that, look at it like once a year anyhow, right?
Right.
And the landowners agreed to have you do that.
Right.
Would you like an engineer to evaluate it? Do you want to take that step? Would that be helpful?
Well, one thing I would suggest first, and we went over the plans, and
Somewhere else.
in the drawings, where the original temporary road was gonna go around it, they said cut trees and build your road there. Well, he didn't have to, so he didn't cut the trees, but what it looks to me like, if we took and continued the ditch on the south side, going from west, from the New Meadows side towards Barry's Mill Road, if we took the trees, continued that ditch, we have the pitch to get to the new box culvert. So now the water on the south side doesn't have to flow through the 3 culverts. So if we could ditch it down through, that would possibly help. But if we have an obstruction 450, 500 feet away, and it makes the water come up 8 inches. Now we have 8 inches less of dry road bed. So it's kind of a snowball thing. I mean, the more we can evacuate the water, I think we can minimize the destruction of the Sabino
We
road.
need to keep that water flowing.
Yeah.
And a guy approached me that lives down the end down there, and he had got a lot of restriction of the water down there too. I can't remember his name, but he's off the Berry's Mill Road. He wants to put a bridge, and he's got funding coming from the state. And I asked him if I could walk through there with an excavator to finish where we stopped, come down through his place, and he finally agreed.
By Dam Cove?
No, no, it's over on, do you go past Small's Corner, you just get up?
What Dam Cove comes all
Oh,
the way
yeah,
up?
it comes up in there, yeah, right there. So, we never got way down there because we didn't have permission. We actually went a little further than we were supposed to, but, I mean, yes, the road is falling in, but you can't blame that on the engineer. He did not, all he did was, we ground it so it wouldn't slide on the hot top. We brought it up 18 inches, just like you wanted, and now it's settled 6. I think a lot of it is, I noticed it last August that it did that. And I got looking at it, and what I noticed is the water, we got a lot of, remember those real bad 5-inch rains, we had 2 like back to back? That's when it all happened. And I think if we could have just kept the trucks off it during that period, it would have helped. I mean, it's a road that you would have to babysit on weight and stuff like that if you want to make it last for, long, or get it re-engineered and put a kitty away so it can be fixed right in the next 10 years or so.
I think patching the road surface is sufficient for now. I don't think you need to re-engineer or put $1 million into it. But I think it may need perhaps some ditching to get the water to flow out, because it's not flowing right now on the 2 sides. And that's, when Perry says, you're saturating the base, that water has been there, and we're getting, 2 inches tomorrow.
Right.
So, we're just gonna keep adding to the problem. So if we can find a way to trace, the water exit and ensure that it's flowing, I think that will provide some additional life expectancy to that road.
No, and I agree, and it's called maintenance, it's gotta need maintenance, but the problem is you can't go in there and go dig 2 big ditches.
No.
Because it's, what I'm saying is, it's just so soft there, it's just gonna,
I think that we have a road commissioner and we have a road committee, and I think that we don't have to solve this problem, but that's fine.
We're just bringing up a point. I think we need to, the root problem, we all agree, is water. And the more we can do to minimize its effect on that particular section, I think that's money well spent. So my suggestion of carrying the south side ditch to the new box culvert will prolong the culverts that were installed, because the culverts are a liability. They cost us money when they fail, and the more they get used, the more they fail. So if we can keep as much water from having to migrate across the road and just encourage it to go to the side of the road to the new box culvert, I think that would benefit, as long as the other end, we can get that water gone. If we can't do anything about where it goes, there's...
Again, we have a road commissioner and a road committee, which you are part of, and I think you guys are all intelligent people, and that you guys can come up with a plan when you can't go any further with what you try and need to do, then you need to come see us and ask questions. I think you guys know, I think you can, again, communication among you guys, I think you're on the right track, you know what you're doing, and I think we need to trust in you guys to do it, make it happen. And again, I agree with you, Susan, I don't think we need an engineer to engineer this for us.
It's never gonna be fixed in the amount that we're comfortable spending. So it's better. It's better than what it was.
If we could make another road over from,
suggested a few years ago, come in, ask the happy number.
What was that?
There's an old road that used to be there in the, apparently 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
And you can come around, it went by the Happy Nook, I remember, it's just, but one guy in there blocked the road with a row of hedges. He didn't want people traveling 40 feet from his house down on the water. So there is an old, I mean, if you wanted to force the issue, there's rights of usage. So it's gonna make it
Other options than $1 million.
really grumpy. Yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, it's, I guess my whole point was, if this could be, if we could have a different course of thinking, try to fix the root problem with our ability, but we're gonna need your support to tell these landowners, yeah, this is gonna suck, but, I'm sorry, this is not gonna be pleasant, but we really need to get, and if it's 4,000 feet away or 3,000 feet, it only takes one rock to mess everything up, so.
I think you're gonna find that problem coming up. Rob actually surveyed the Bull Rock Road and he surveyed the Mountain Road. So what we wanna do on there with the stuff, I think we might have to go to some of the landowners and see if we take it by the mail or whatever. If they wanna use this as a town road, we need to get the width and get it up to date, so.
Well, what I've heard and what I'm hearing is everybody seems to want to do things with these roads at some point in time. They need to give a little to get a lot. I mean, we can't just keep.
Oh, exactly. I mean,
So Bull Rock's not wide enough?
Bull Rock was plenty wide, but that's a 3-rod road, the mountain road. The same problem with Sabino and the mountain roads, they were camp roads. And now, we're trying to, back then, when I dug down, where I had to put in the culvert, we come across a bunch of pilings and 12 by 12s and everything else stacked on top of another, and then culvert on top of that. So that's when I had to go to town to put this culvert in right. I said, look, we gotta way over dig this, so we did that with that section. Now, with the rest of the section, it wasn't designed, and we did test bores and stuff, and it showed right on it, it's 38 feet deep in some spots, 26 feet before you even hit ledge. It's just pure. So they basically built a bridge out of these 12 by 12s, put dirt over it, and call it a road.
But there again, there wasn't the traffic.
Huh?
When that was done, there wasn't any kind of traffic down there.
No, no.
And nobody lived down there year round.
Just summertime and very light
No,
cars.
and there wasn't no 72,000 pound trucks, 100,000 pound trucks going over it.
Exactly.
So I think,
To make a motion on this?
No.
I think the consensus of opinion is that we're not going to.
We're not there yet.
Review the road with Pine Tree Engineering.
so,
Can you put a weight limit on it some weight limit that still permits some construction equipment to get in there to do what needs to be done?
well, I
But
think,
maybe not as heavy of equipment, at least until you've got a chance to come up with a plan.
it would be good to at least put something like that up and have them contact the road commission and have them talk to what they're moving in there, when they're doing it. Because if it's the wrong part of the year, or we just got a 5-10 inch storm, I can explain to them, no, we can't have that going in there now. But,
You
yeah.
don't want to make it burdensome to the
And
property
maybe
owners, but at the same time, you don't want to undo any more good work that's been done that you have to.
Is
So I
that
guess-
acceptable to the board?
Well, so I don't know, so what is an acceptable weight limit if they need to bring a bulldozer and deliver it? Because if they need to get equipment, what does that weigh? What is it, I mean, you can't, if you say, well, no bulldozers till July.
Well, you figure most, I would go with a 20-ton trailer. If you get it on a 20-ton trailer, then you can take it.
And is that a standard, I don't know, is it,
A 20-ton trailer is 40,000 pound piece of machinery.
And
and again, is that, I don't know what a bulldozer weighs.
Well, it's a matter of pressure. It's a matter of pressure on road. So you got 8 tires supporting the 40-ton trailer's total weight. So you're gonna put, you know, you're gonna 20 tons, so you're gonna put 40,000 pounds on this road in a very short span. So
I get that,
it's-
so, but
yeah.
so what, I mean, does a loaded cement truck weigh that? I don't know.
Loaded cement truck's probably the heaviest thing gonna go across that road.
80,000.
And so if you've got foundations going in, they can't pour a
So
foundation?
no, they would just need permission
But
from
that,
the road
that's where it
commissioner.
would come in, okay, call, and, you
Yep.
know, you're gonna have cement call, let somebody know and let them make the decision, you know. As far as I'm concerned, they probably should be expanded and that you can't pour concrete unless it's in August,
Yeah.
September or something.
And that's the other part of it, and typically in April, you know, March, April, May, you don't run on the roads. You know, especially on a very soggy road like that, it's gonna take till, what would you think, June, July for that to dry
Yeah.
out? So if we can encourage people not to do that, I don't know how that can be accomplished. But if that road could have a weight limit until it dries out, I think that would prolong us putting more money into it.
There are other kinds of restrictions around town about what you can do on a particular piece of property. And maybe that road is not suitable for all kinds of construction. So maybe people need
It
to
isn't.
take that into consideration as they plan their multi-million-dollar, 750,000 foot
It's no
building.
different than a low road bridge. That shuts that whole road off to any big truck. So they gotta, you know, or over in Dresden, they got 4. The problem is, with Sabino, there's only one way in, one way out. So it's hard, I don't know. It's,
Well, I proposed many years ago that we build a bridge from the Sabino Landing over to the mountain road. And that would give people another access.
you
What
probably
you
do
think
it cheaper
about
than getting that road done.
Yeah, is there federal funding for that, Alice? Can we do that?
There is, you know, I'm laughing, but there is some stuff out there. We've been working with CALT on sea level rise, resilience, and there's funding out there, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services. That's what we're doing with that marsh, or just beyond the Taste of Maine.
Yeah.
And CALT is the one who approached us on that, so it won't happen tomorrow, but I would recommend.
So, did we get any funding for that job down First Point at the end, or?
No, not yet.
Still in the
Still
warrant.
looking,
We're gonna-
still looking for the appropriate funding source
We need to expedite the comp plan so we can qualify for grants.
or score better on grants.
So, this summer, a lot's gonna be happening, for the excavation work and stuff in the town. So there's a lot of different jobs we need to put out there. We need some kind of, bid form. Do you want me to make them up, what we need done on this part? And
Is
then,
that part of the next discussion?
Is that purchasing policy?
Yeah, we can talk about that during that section, sure.
So just before we leave this Sabino Road, if we want to put a weight limit on, what is the process?
Just authorize the road commissioner to do it.
and I'll put a sign up.
Well, there's some building going on, just looking at putting in foundations, you need to,
We
tell
understand
them,
that.
you know, explain to them what I mean, there's,
It'll benefit them in a way to wait also, you know.
If what we're looking for is communication and making sure that the road commissioner is aware and can decide whether or not,
it's a good day to come in or not.
yeah,
I mean,
I think that's fair.
Are the roads all still posted?
Yes.
I mean, are we still in that time of posting?
We, Brunswick, I lifted, like, I got crap from a guy the other day, he said, Brunswick lifting theirs Monday, why aren't you lifting yours? I said, well, 90% of the Brunswick roads are built in nice bedded sand. Ours are in clay and ledge, so.
There's a point, I was just thinking, you've already got it posted. Can you delay the lifting of the posting until it dries out some?
Oh, I actually did that on a couple of sides, and people got all along with that.
Well, you know,
Too
we
bad.
all collectively, we can quantify how much we all pay to maintain that road. And,
Right.
you know, it benefits us just to try to delay the destruction of it. If it's one more month, or, I think we get through April, it'll start drying out.
So I guess I'd like to make a proposal that we authorize the road commissioner to do whatever he needs to do, either post the road or set a weight limit at his discretion.
Are we talking about just Sabina?
Just Sabina.
And I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I might just suggest that it just delays taking the posting signs off. They're already posted.
It's already posted to a weight limit.
I agree, but I also agree that we have people who are employees of the town of West Bath for a reason, and we need to leave some of this
To their discretion.
to their discretion.
What is the weight limit on the posters?
26,000.
26, so that's what you're looking for, possibly.
Yeah, that's basically a 1 ton
Okay.
that a tractor on back, you can get away with. I was thinking about 54,000 a wheeler, and anything above and beyond 54,000, you need permission from the town road commissioner to move in, that one there.
So is that more than they're posted for now? That's actually
Yeah, it's
more.
twice.
Yeah, that's twice.
It's what the.
So, one thing with this road posting, there are exceptions to it, like when we were well drilling, the state of Maine says you cannot stop fundamental support of families, meaning oil trucks, well drilling rigs. You can ask them to limit their travel. So, I mean, I believe what you're talking about is gonna do our best efforts. to-
Common sense.
Yeah, we're not gonna restrict somebody's ability to live, so this is not gonna affect that, so. It might
Well,
delay.
those are
them.
left off, they're left off the posting, or the restriction, fuel.
Yeah,
So for supper, if you get.
yeah, it doesn't.
It's not in the
hold that
restriction.
much, yeah. So.
All in favor of the motion? All yes?
I'm saying, I live down there.
So, Steve, you and Christine, you let her know what your decision is, and if we put something on the website?
Yep, we're gonna sign me for that.
I put together an ordinance for posted roads, just so that we have some weight behind our decision making. I'll look at the language again and confirm that it allows the road commissioner to make these kinds of decisions, because that would be helpful, because we need to be able to enforce it appropriately.
I've tried stopping people before.
Well, we're not gonna ask you to get up and stop somebody that's wants to go through anyway, because we're not law enforcement.
I chased a truck, I called him. I did. What do we do with them?
But we can actually find people if we have an ordinance,
Right.
which would be.
You can find them if it's posted, actually. That is your ordinance, so. I called Steve in his cab.
Business item 4, the purchasing policy adopted by the select board on September 11th, 2017 is provided for discussion purposes.
Do you want to start off, Suzanne, if you want to? I know you had some concerns about it.
So I don't think we're following it, at all. I mean, we have guidelines that anything under 1,000, 1,000 to 5,000, 5,000 to 20, and over 20. And there has been, we need to follow it. We need to get it up to 5,000, we need to have 3 oral written submission of work request. 5 to 20,000, we need 3 bids minimum. Over 20,000, it's a sealed bid. We're not doing it.
Are you referring to?
We have been following it with the exception of certain road projects.
Right.
So I respect what you're saying and I agree with what you're saying. For all other town projects, we are following that. For the road projects, I just want to point out that was adopted in 2017. We have never followed it for those types of projects. So
For roads.
for ditching,
Right,
for striping, for paving,
right.
those types of projects. So I just wanted to add some clarity there, and point out that we've never followed it for those types of projects.
What do you mean?
What I would advise the board to do, if you do want to have an enforceable policy, maybe you need to look at this policy and make sure that it's really what you're looking for. And then we would reestablish it.
Well, you know, some of the things that we've put on, I'll call it our wish list. We've got $18,000 for your heating units over at Town Hall.
We got 3 bids for that, more than 3.
And we've got 18, you know, for the sign and things, so
We've
it's.
got multiple bids for that.
So I guess.
So
We are
do
doing
we
that.
look at them? Does this select board?
Well, it hasn't been approved yet. When it's approved, you can look at them. The Energy Committee was looking at the heat pump proposals, and they make a recommendation first to the Budget Committee and then to the board if it passes. So we are following that. I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands that. It's just, and Steve can explain why he approaches his own projects in a different way. I think we should let him do that.
David has a.
I just want to, on the roads, we disbanded the bid process 2 years ago, right? The Board of Selectmen did.
We certainly did on the lower end, so that Steve, when
Well-
he saw a problem, could end up doing that. And we also made the exception at one point, I remember, because we had the opportunity for Crooker to come in and do a job quickly, which we would have lost a discount if we didn't do it.
I believe it was just about 2 years ago when COVID started up, the Board of Selectmen voted 3-0 to disband and not follow the bidding process for roads due to COVID and meeting with people and everything else. At the same time, it was also discussed going forward that bidding something for $5,000, you can't even do a cover for $5,000. So maybe the bid needs to be a little, the number's a little higher.
I think we should keep it at 5.
Well, that's not my call, but I'm just saying.
You know, I think it's.
But right now, there is no bid policy as far as I know for roads, because you disbanded it.
Well, there is for the big projects.
Yeah, but as far as the local ones,
Right, and basically a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, the lawn mowing, for the roads and the striping and all that, is always under $5,000, so we just have to do it.
But so it's, and I look at, and certainly we now have a road committee to, you know, contribute to this. You know, but when we have, and I'm gonna say this in complete layman's terms, because I don't know how, the request for ditching, so, you know, hypothetically, let's say we've got 9 miles of ditching that the town needs to do in a year. I think we should say, okay, let's look at a bid process. Who wants to contribute 9 miles of ditching? This section needs this kind of ditching, this section needs that kind of ditching, and this section needs this kind of ditching. And I think, you know, I believe, and part of my job that I do during the day is proposal writing and doing a lot of financial analysis. And in my proposals, I encourage a larger commitment for a lower rate, and I do that all day long. So I think if we were to put together opportunities for 9 miles of ditching, that we would get 9 miles of ditching perhaps what the individual rate would be for 7. So I think it's, you know, the law of numbers, and is, I think, you know, to try and save the town money and get more for what we have. So I'd like to see, you know, doing bulk for some projects.
Consolidate these.
You know, and just, you know, because we've got ditching, we've got, you know, maybe you go out for all the trees you want trimmed that are impeding the visual corners or whatever. You get that out. Instead of piecemealing pieces, I think the town can get more done for less in that process. So when I look at the purchasing policy, I would like to see us pursue a collective approach. We were essentially out of COVID, and we talked about moving some of the restrictions that we put in place 2 years ago, and allow the town to get more for less. I think it's a great way for us to spend our money.
If we can try it, I got no objections to it.
I think we can try it too. My concern is, you don't have a whole lot of people out there that's gonna take on these small little jobs.
No, that's what I'm saying. If so, we said 9 miles of ditching. That's not a half a day of ditching. It's
No, it's
maybe
still
6
9
days.
miles.
No, that's about $70,000.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I truly don't know. I'm simplifying it.
I hear what you're saying, and I think that's what we as a road committee are trying to achieve. We're trying to look at this 1, 5, 10, 20-year program. And I think if we're given some more time and opportunity, then we can really visit this, say, look, this road needs it, this really should be bundled while we're here, this needs to be done too, so we want to make this one project. And we get, so.
It's just the law of numbers, you know, I think it's, you know, and I by no means know any of the terms, appropriate terms for road work, but.
So my hopes are that this gets to the point where you're just talking about this in a relatively short time, so.
Madeline? The one thing that I don't want us to do is out policy the ability of the road commissioner to see a problem that needs to be fixed. Like I'm remembering a few years ago, we had the hole that appeared in the Birch Point Road. If that had required more than just putting some rocks in there, that could have been a really serious problem that needed to be handled without having a month to do a bid thing. So I don't want us to tie our hands for emergencies. So we need to make sure that we're allowing the road commissioner, whoever he or she may be in the big fat future, to the discretion to take care of things as they need to be taken care of. And that's what the $5,000 discretion was put in for. And $5,000, when you're talking about the road budget, is not a whole lot.
And we've never, ever impeded an emergent need of the town. We will always, you know, if something arises that needs immediate action, we're not saying, you gotta get, you know, so we can put that as part of our purchasing policy, you know, based upon, and there's times when,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, so for example, when the Sabina Road had the problem, we had to get some additional base. We called an emergency meeting to address that. You reach out, there's ways to get around things, but I think we need to, you know, and we talked all tonight about guidelines. Guidelines for documenting your hours while you're doing this. You know, so as we grow as a community, we need to make sure we have a level playing field for everybody. And I think it's important that we pursue strategies for that, you know, that we just go about stuff the right way.
So therefore, and I agree, I understand what you're saying, but now you're gonna bring in a third party for this, to make all this stuff happen.
I'm looking by a third party.
Somebody's gotta make up the description of the work. They need to go out and they need to survey this stuff to make sure all the stuff is gonna be in the lines. They gotta put it up in a bid package description. This town will never have that kind of budget.
No, I'm not saying to change the budget. I'm saying, you know, when you're, and I look at your budget, and I think it was like 40,000 for ditching. Off the top of my head, I don't remember if that's what it was or not. That if we said, okay, here's your estimate as a road commission, we're going to allocate 40,000 for ditching.
Right.
Where do you presume this year that ditching should occur? And let's put that $40,000 ditching out to bid.
And it goes back to that bid form you were talking about. We can create a bid form pretty easily.
We could create it, but
based on.
Yeah, but the problem is when you start getting back in the ditch line, that's why we've been doing this lot of simple little fixes, so we're not jumping on other people's land, approaching it, getting sued, getting this and that. If we gotta go that route there, we've gotta have that third party.
But we have the entire road committee.
The road committee is not, that's not what the road committee's for. They can't go out and design all these fixes.
No, but they can say, here's the 9 miles of ditching that we are gonna propose for this year and give it to you for a recommendation.
Yep.
So that's, I mean, they will contribute to some of that.
No, that's definitely, stuff like that will go out for bid and I'm just talking about all of a sudden, we got a bad spot somewhere else, like Madeline was saying.
We're not gonna get in the way of that. You know, if it's in the middle of the winter and we can't get to the hot top, then we fill it with rock. We will do what's necessary to keep the town safe.
Right. I think we need to say that, as Suzanne mentioned, we need to say that in the policy.
Right, well, but also what I'm saying is, any job over $50,000 needs to be engineered. If you want these jobs done right, then that's how it's gonna be.
I think that was in, hold on, I think it's actually less than that.
So, I'm wrapping my head around, yeah, these bigger jobs need to be engineered. I'm also trying to grasp the understanding of what responsibility the engineers have, that their jobs are gonna work.
I agree, I guess.
And we've seen by hard experience, sometimes
Oh, I see it
the
all.
practical experience outweighs the book degree.
But you see it on the Bulwark Road, every year,
Yeah.
the that get fixed, and tell me,
Yeah, so I guess I think, as a road committee member, I think we could be the third party. I think collectively on the smaller jobs, because you just said it before, 50,000 is not gonna buy us what it used to. And a lot of these repairs are gonna be 50,000 instead of 5,000. So I think maybe at that point, it ought to be, do we really need to bring an engineer in? Or do we just collectively need to look at it and say, yeah, we gotta do this, it's gonna cost this, here's the presentation.
well, the biggest,
Do you think that's possible for us to do that? I guess
I'm
it's a
not
question.
one to make a determination on whether an engineer is the one who should make it. You know, I look at a $40,000 or even, you know, expenditure on a road, and we wanna make sure that we're going about it the right way. You certainly have the capacity to do that, you probably do, some of the road people on the committee might be able to, but I think we need someone who's gonna say, here's what we need to do, here's how you go about it, and here's what I believe are the correct materials for that. And I don't know if that's what an engineer comes up with, but I'm not the one who can decide when an engineer, I think we need to really make sure we're going about it in the right way.
I think that the selectman needs to review this some more and have some more conversation. We're not gonna get to a conclusion tonight.
I just got one more thing that you guys might want to also think of is, you get these bids, and that's something like that, on a package. He describes what you need to do. They bid on, that's what they charge. Now all of a sudden you got another $20,000 add-ons on it, because this wasn't on this, you know, you didn't explain this right, and that's the problem that 90%, 95% of the jobs that does not get the design. And if everybody wants a fair thing to bid on, the same thing, that engineer's gonna draw that out.
Yep.
You don't have to go as much probably the survey and all that out of this, but he should be making a good package up.
So Steve, I wanna move on a little bit. I've got this warrant here that I'm being asked to sign, and I have concerns over some of the cost here for mid-coast excavation, 13, 14, 15, 16, it's about $17,000, and I was wondering if you could explain to us what took place there.
What's this at?
Jeremy's bills for,
Oh, well, we got this is how I got it. I got an email forwarded to me from Christine. Jeremy stating that he was down in Sabino with his hammer, and he could give us a good deal if we could dig out the turnaround where the fire trucks go. And he said it would be $3,000 a day. So I went down and met with him, and I said, yeah, look, you go down there, your hammer's there, that's great. If it's $3,000 a day, I'd like to have on the side of the road some done too. So I figured 2 days tops. And that was given it a lot, and then it just capitalized from there, the bill. So I screwed up, I guess I should have asked every single detail. This is what,
you did have
This
the
is
price
what-
reduced though.
I did get the price reduced. I talked to Jeremy about it. Jeremy, give us $1,500 off. I guess I should have, I don't know. See, this is what I'm talking about and I'm afraid of, is exactly that bill right there. But I guess I'm kind of glad you brought it up, because we talked, he knew we had a $5,000 limit. And
But in theory, I guess we don't, because we waive the limit. I mean, so, 1 minute.
We didn't have no choice, the job was done.
But and I personally think we should stick with the policy that we have in place. We're gonna talk about it, so I don't wanna get into too much of the detail, but it's got under 5, 5 to 20, 20 and over.
Yeah.
And it'll keep us all on the straight and narrow, and I think it's a great policy to.
It is a perfect policy. I'm just following through. What I'm saying is, if you don't give a complete detail, and
Absolutely.
price,
And a price, because I
It-
really feel
well-
like, maybe you messed up? I don't know, but
I
I
think it
really
was
feel
the
like
joint
I would take the blame for it. I mean,
I think we were taken advantage of it.
well, I'm not saying that. because-
I am, because when I see a bill like that and we had no input into it, it's concerning to me.
Well,
My concern about those invoices, if we're looking at documentation, is that all of the invoices have the names of private roads on them. As an administrator, looking back at history 10 years from now, that would be of concern to me.
Holton Pond's not a full private road. It's only a
Well-
mailbox.
Holton Pond Road is a private road. I understand we take care of the turnarounds.
No, Holton Pond goes up the hill, and then it turns private.
Let's ask our road commissioner.
Holton Pond is not a private road. Holton Pond,
Partial private.
actually, it turns by the town hall and goes up to where the tire stops.
Our road list doesn't say that.
It doesn't? Oh, I got it back.
I mean, I believe you.
No, I can just double check and I get it back for you.
Yeah. It's just when I see Windy Hill is the one that really gets me on the invoice. When I see Windy Hill, I'm thinking, well, maybe this is legit.
Well, I'm wondering if they just added that as an intersection, because the intersection.
That's possible,
That's
but
possible, but
I'm thinking about documentation.
As far as I know, Hope Nice Pond Road goes just beyond the turnaround. It goes down to Bobby Adams, just the ranch on the left, and the town road ends there, right around there.
At Bobby Adams' house?
Where it used to be Bobby Adams' house, on the left-hand side. You turn by, so by our town hall,
You go,
and it goes in the ways, I'm not sure how far it is, but the town road does go in the little ways.
it stops at the tar. There's a
Yeah.
tar and then dirt, and that's the town.
That's the town, and the town road.
It
Suppose
is.
we should develop a map
Yeah.
with
It's-
color
it's-
coding the roads, so we know where they begin.
It's labeled as such, too.
Yeah, because this is the second and third road that we've called private.
Yeah.
Only look through the bottom, I've got
Right.
trifocals.
There is
Well, I
another,
know on the bottom, they
I
come
do.
down there.
Benjamin Franklin.
Well, he wants my glasses, like, look at the bottom.
there is town road on Hope Nice Pond, a little ways.
Ask the town historian.
Is it?
It is where the town ends.
Right,
Yeah.
and there's a turnaround there.
And that's where, and that's where all the mailboxes are, and, yeah.
Yeah. And that's basically where the school bus turns around, the plow truck turns around.
Right.
And so I plowed the road myself, and yeah, it could have been great. I mean, 10 feet we took out of there, which would give it that enough to get up and turn around without jockeying 3 times. And he did take out some legs and stuff. What he did, I thought was gonna be great. The bill was kind of.
If I'm just looking at a file 10 years from now, I'm gonna wanna know what.
So I think you should hand document that message on there.
Right, and this is what I'm saying, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, I have my
Yeah,
glasses.
and these conversations are helpful and productive, because this is how we're all gonna get on the same page.
I can't help it, I can't see a damn thing without it.
We did the work we need to pay him, but maybe just, maybe have him send in a new bill with taking that out.
Yeah, what did he mean by Windy Hill? What area
I don't
was
even
it?
know,
That
where
is-
is Windy
That's
Hill?
below his driveway.
That's his driveway.
That was right, that was,
Oh, the ice buildup.
This is why I'm concerned.
this
The other
is,
was, there was road on, ice buildup on Hill Road that
Like
crept,
Kramer's old
that
house.
crept into the road that was plowed away. I totally know what that is.
Right where the old
it was
spring is.
basically the culvert and stuff
Right.
that he
So
put
that's-
in
but
that
see,
there,
that's- so
and then
maybe-
he gets
so-
ditched and ripped right out.
It's not, it's, if you want to itemize the invoice, it goes to where it was, because he lumped all kinds of stuff in.
And that's the trouble I have, just being honest, is probably the only trouble I have with the road commissioner and all of these bills is it's not well documented.
We have this road program now, and we're gonna be inputting information based on.
And that's exactly why
We have Trio though, that's actually gonna document the longevity. I think it's great. I mean, it'll
If
take
we're
some time.
documenting based on what is on an invoice that's in the drawer,
Yeah.
we need to make sure that that information is accurate.
Can we back up that invoice? And,
What do you mean?
well, in the file, for.
Right on.
that-
Yeah, I'm satisfied with just documenting it for now, but I just wanted to put it out there and have a conversation about it, because this information is very important.
Well, and I was like, well, I don't know where we, I thought it was a little bit, I don't know where we deal is, but I know exactly what you said what that was. It was an ice encroachment that they had,
That's, you're in the wrong place though, dear. It was on top, I went down and cut that out with the grader.
there's another ice spot that he was shoveling. I don't know where, because I don't know where it is.
Regardless, I mean,
Well, it's an elegant culvert now.
what's
It's
that
a
now?
very beautiful culvert now.
Yeah.
I'm sure it enhances.
And
The
if that's
entire
what he
road.
was doing, again.
Jeremy does very nice work, and
Doesn't
it's
say
very
anything about
expensive,
ice.
It's the Cadillac of road work.
It's not, it's not any better, it's a Cadillac pricing. But you don't
What's
get
the
the
rest
things he
of the
has,
comments?
he does a good job.
No, but again, the more, and I know
This is what,
it's hard, but the more documentation you have, the better it is to support you guys and what you decide.
Well, anything that goes down the road too, that we want to, like if she's got to pull a file out, we need to know what it was for down the road. Should we have an audit? Should we have a,
yeah,
again, it goes back just.
we
you know,
never had that. I mean, I never had nothing like that handed down to me, but I really
Well,
don't.
the town's
It wasn't
growing
before
up.
then,
It's,
so.
it's,
Yeah,
If,
tightening up.
So,
if we have a purchasing policy, we should follow
we should,
it, right?
100%.
And if the policy is not sufficient, we should change it.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
I speak that as a taxpayer, first and foremost, but also as a contractor who understands that all these little piddly things, right, are difficult. But if we have a policy, then we need to follow it. And if we need a separate purchasing policy for the road, then we need to develop one, right?
Yeah, I don't know that it needs to be separate, but it certainly needs to cover all of the bases.
Of course.
Well,
We need roads taken care of.
Yeah.
We need documents, somehow we need to set up something like documents.
right, when somebody submits a bill, there needs to be a certain structure to it. It can't just be Hill Road, blah, blah, blah. What do you do on that, you know?
And ditch from this to that, and it, you know, and especially when you've got people up here who aren't fluent in some of these projects and terminology, it makes it easier for us to ensure that we're spending our money wisely.
Well, that's why I wish we could hire somebody to come in and get this program set up for us. I mean, we've had it now for 3 years, and none of us really knows how to get rid of it, get it set up, so,
But the trio thing,
yeah.
No, it's not Trio,
No.
it's the main DOT.
What do we need
With
to
the
do?
road committee, we'll.
well, the road committee, because they're gonna give her the information on each piece of the road, she'll input it,
It
document.
should be all on GPS, though, it all should be coming right up and all that.
We've talked about
information
that
should
at the committee meeting, so they're planning on that, I believe.
Yeah,
Yes.
so the one thing I would also add to this, yeah, we definitely need to follow these existing policies for purchasing. But I also think that you have to collectively make a decision. So this spur of the moment, if I can use that term, a guy sitting there with his excavator, it's $3,000 to bring it on site. You know, we gotta have it done eventually, and it kind of makes sense to get the guy, but I can see where it muddies a lot of things. So I think if you, the selectmen, could say, look, we need this more clarified so it's easier to explain, you're gonna have to just stop that. You're gonna say, no, our policy is this, and we're gonna have to just stick with it. as much as it is gonna cost us more money, it would be nice to have the latitude for Stevie to say, yeah, hey, Labby, you're sitting there with that, just pop this out for me, you know? Instead of, hey, we need this popped out, we're gonna spend an extra $3,000 for a $3,000 job, so I would just bring that
Well,
up.
so
But
in
if
that
you stick
scenario
with
though, the
policy,
three, that, you know, it's
that's
under
fine.
$5,000, it doesn't have to have a bid. It
But
has to have
this
a
came
quote.
in over.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, but he, you know, so there, depending on how, but I think, and I still think we should follow the policy as it's been written and presented and approved since 2017. And I'm gonna actually move that we remove the COVID delay and go back to the policy.
I would prefer to wait on that. There's been way too much conversation. I'd like to have a clean, one-time discussion without all kinds of extraneous input.
Only thing I ask, the sooner the better you guys come up with a plan, because we got a lot of money to spend, and we got a lot of work that we can do.
And I'd
It
like,
just needs to be spent the right way.
We'll try to, Steve, but I would
Well,
suggest
what do
that.
you call the right way? I mean,
right,
But you know what, it's,
I have a budget now from last year still I'm gonna spend out, and we got a budget this year.
So-
So I guess I don't
so I
understand.
guess I'll go back to the ditching. I'd like to, opportunities that we can bulk collectively, I'd like to do it that way, because we'll get more for it. Instead of saying,
But
I'm gonna ditch this piece of road today for 3,500, and then tomorrow I'm gonna ditch this piece, because,
But it's not
Perry
that simple.
brings
We
out,
don't have a road in the town of West Bath, even a mile long. So whatever we put out there, try to make it stretch out, the guys would be mobilization, 5 or 6 different roads.
but Perry brings it, you know, when you're out there ditching, you have to bring equipment to the site, which there's a charge to do that. So I'd rather, you know, if you need a truck to put the collective grass and whatever you've ditched in there, and you've got your, and I don't know if you call it a bulldozer or whatever you dig it with, because I don't think, you know, but it's just that you have the ability to do it collectively. That's what I consider a collective.
Like I said, just let me know, and I'll get these projects going. 'Cause
It's not up to me. It's
I'm
up
not,
to
I don't want to
process.
procrastinate on getting these things going this year. We didn't get much done last year. I couldn't find nobody to do it. My schedule was very full. I've actually taken time off this year to make sure I can get some of the projects done. We need them, however they bid.
thank you.
So I wanna get caught up. I wanna spend all the town's money.
Wisely. Carlos?
There is a motion on the floor by Suzanne. Does anyone want to second that?
I understand what you're saying, that wisely isn't getting
So,
told one price and spending 3 times the limit. That's not wisely, and that's not saving.
so we're not gonna follow our policy because of COVID? That's where we're gonna leave it?
No, we want to review it and.
That was her
make sure-
motion.
And nobody seconded it.
We paused it because of COVID. You know, it was,
So,
So we're gonna leave it paused because of COVID.
No, we're going to have further discussion.
we'll have.
Yeah, we'll
outside
take it
this
up
meeting.
again, first meeting in May.
Thank you, Susan.
Are we all set with the driveway permit?
driveway permit?
The driveway permit has been approved pending
What?
the,
Yes, that was,
the,
I signed off on it. They got a written notice that they're supposed to bring down to the town tomorrow. Jamie said he'd drop it off. That they gotta move the bush, not cut it, not trim it, move the bush, and then I'll have it signed.
It's just while Steve is here. And
I'm
there's-
sorry, I have no, where's the driveway?
There's a driveway permit there.
Matthew Brackley has submitted a
just
driveway.
Oh, we're on the next item.
No, this isn't on the agenda.
It's just because the people are in the room.
Oh my God.
Something happened, you didn't know
I need
about
something
it?
more than water.
I just wanted to make sure everybody was all set before we.
Yes, I spoke with them earlier.
Okay.
Now I signed up. I see the bush doesn't get moved, then it's gonna come back out.
The bush will be moved before the
Bush
driveway is
will
in,
be
I
moved.
promise.
Okay,
We'll all sleep better knowing that.
all right.
Yes.
And it actually will make that other road that somebody did a permit for much more visibility also. So it's gonna help that whole situation out there.
Thank you, we're trying to prevent accidents around that corner, so.
would be nice if we could get more signage, not that it'll do anything on Foster's Point Road, but the section between State Road and the town hall, especially as you get down to the town hall, it's extremely congested down there. There's been some new development. There's trees and things growing out. There's a lot of activity at the town hall itself. And I know you can put up signs till the cows come home and people won't observe them, but it would be nice if we could get a reduction at the town hall area. I know it's off the,
For trees, is that you're saying?
I know it's not on the agenda, but while we're talking about line of sight on Foster's Point Road, it's so there's a lot of people walking on it and dogs, and there's bicycles from everywhere. So if we could reduce the speed limit or do something more to try to get people to a flashing speed limit sign, something, especially as you're getting down to the town hall, to keep us safe.
I don't believe we can reduce speed limit. They
Okay.
have Royal, they have,
Sure.
what we can do is maybe put up
Speed bumps.
a sign saying town hall ahead, or
Reduce, or caution, congestion.
So
I know
Steve,
that
when
same people are
noticed
gonna,
Pulling out from the town hall and looking left,
yeah,
you can't see the cars coming up.
yeah, that's what,
Yeah.
I've noticed that.
So is
and,
that, but we're gonna talk about.
I am
trees
gonna
next,
have,
right?
well,
there's a couple of trees.
there's another one, I usually just call Hawks up and have them do this.
Anyway,
stuff.
if
But
you would
now,
consider.
I gotta call 3 people, put it out for bid and all this stuff. And
But there's more than one tree to cut.
for my saving $600 a month.
Yes.
There's more than one tree in the town that can be cut there, Steve.
I said it, you're not gonna find 3 tree cutters to come in on
They
it.
asked me the other day.
If,
I was counting 30.
we don't set the speed limits.
No, we can't, it's a
It's the
royal,
state,
a school zone, it's
Right.
all set by the state.
right. Can we request?
Because I did try to lower one on the Hill Road, they wouldn't let me.
I had someone pass me on that road a couple of weeks ago, and I was going 35, exactly, because I'm a lead foot. So I try to really pay attention, and he passed me
Oh, yeah.
What about those
came
road
out of
strips?
a road right there.
I don't believe you can put those in unless it's 15 miles an hour.
Allison.
I was
I
just
put
gonna,
a bunch in the village down in Parker's Head, and you don't want them, trust me.
no, what I was gonna say is that we have put in yellow speed limit signs. They're not enforceable, but
Right.
not everybody knows that. Until now.
Now I know.
So that's something we have done on.
That's like,
Anyway,
Suggestions, yes.
but then again, you can put all the signs you want up, but it's gotta be the individual driving that vehicle that's gonna
Yeah.
obey it.
exactly.
All right, we need to move on. Anything else for the road commissioner while he's right here?
Are we on 4 purchasing policy? Is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, just that we'll take it up in May.
If you want to stay, you're welcome. If you want to go, you're welcome.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Perry.
Oh, I'm staying.
We'd miss it in the world, wouldn't you?
None of that.
Business item 5, electrical cable town
Good
hall.
night, ladies.
Good night.
The quote from Brackley Electric is provided for review. It is recommended that the upgrades be done as soon as possible with town building capital funds to correct code violations.
I did not even know that we did this, I swear.
Nate,
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
we contacted 3 different vendors to come and take a look at our electrical panel. The only company that responded was Brackley Electric. And we received this quote that you have in your folder for a total price of just less than $3,000 to make some upgrades, install a sub-panel and a couple of outlets. We
Is this
do,
upstairs or downstairs?
it's in the furnace room.
The invoice will be 17,000 now.
Oh,
No, it won't.
no, we won't be signing that.
No.
Since they involve existing code violations, and after discussions at the budget committee meetings, where we talked about addressing the fire department's needs with the ARPA money first, and waiting until we receive the second tranche of money to deal with our other projects. I would like to take care of this project now with our town capital funds, with your approval.
So what does the policy say?
It's under 5,000, it doesn't have to go out to written bid, it's just 3 verbal estimates.
Yeah.
I've memorized it.
And we put out the word and we only got one response, so that's
Right.
two. So I move that we authorize the expenditure of $2,997.97 only to Brackley Electric for the purpose of correcting the code violations after
Code
town.
violations. I second that.
Can we include in that that's gonna come from
The capital
From-
budget.
And yes,
capital improvement?
it will
Yeah.
come from, monies to come from the town building capital funds.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Great, we can get on the schedule. Thank you.
No, we're gonna prioritize this one.
Business item 6, ATV trail use permit, over the hill ATV riders. The club is requesting permission to use land owned by the town